From teacher to CEO, lessons in resilience. I never had a single day of training on how to be a CEO. Early on, my venture capitalist told me, "Jack, you should give your CEO job to someone else because you don't know how to be a CEO." And I said, no. I didn't know how to be a CEO, but later I realized I could be a good one. Because the skills I relied on were those I learned from being a teacher. Looking back, it's hard not to remember the countless times I failed. My educational journey was far from easy. I failed the university entrance exams 3 times. This wasn't uncommon in China at the time, but for me, it was devastating. With each failure, I felt the weight increase, but I never gave up. Hangzhou Teachers College finally accepted me after years of trying. At the time, many considered this university to be 4th or 5th class. But for me, it was the place where everything changed. It wasn't just about the knowledge I acquired, but about learning to persist. Looking back, each of those failures was a lesson in resilience and the importance of a success mindset. I remember saying to myself, if not now, when? If not me, then? Who? This phrase has guided me throughout my career. Many see failure as the end, but I always believed that it was just the beginning of something new. Failure was my greatest teacher. It taught me the importance of learning continuously, of never giving up, even when doors closed repeatedly. And believe me, many doors did close. For years, I battled with the feeling of defeat, but there was always a small flame of hope. It was this determination that motivated me to keep going. Education at that time needed an overhaul, and it still does today. In China, many teachers came from the ranks of students considered less talented. This seemed absurd to me. How could we expect an educational revolution when those who taught were not among the best? But then I realized that being a good teacher wasn't just about being the best student. At Hangzhou Teachers College, I learned that teaching wasn't about grades, but about inspiring, motivating, and making others believe in themselves. Being a teacher shaped me both as a professional and as a human being. It was in those corridors that I began to understand the true power of education. It is not a means of standardizing, but of empowering. Each student, each human being is unique, and the role of a teacher is to help them discover their potential. When we look to the future of education, I see that diversity of thought will be our greatest strength. If education is treated like a production line, we will end up creating machines, not human beings capable of thinking creatively and innovatively. My journey in education wasn't just about acquiring knowledge. It was about learning to turn failures into lessons. This mindset has shaped who I am and who I have become as a leader. As I reflect on all this, I see that true success lies not in how quickly we get there, but in the perseverance we show along the way. After all, failure is temporary, but learning is eternal. Beyond degrees, the true purpose of education. I often ask high school students in China, "What's your hobby? What do you want to do in the future?" And many of them say, "I don't know. I just want to go to a good university." I then ask, "Why do you want to go to university?" Again they say, "I don't know. I just want to go to university." That's the problem. Many senior high school students don't know what they want to do. They just want to go to university because they think a university degree is a guarantee of a job. From my 20 years of experience at Alibaba, we found that most university graduates need to be retrained significantly. University doesn't guarantee you a job. I strongly believe that teachers can change lives. During my own education, I saw firsthand how a teacher's attitude can make all the difference to a student's success or failure. My English teacher, for example, wasn't originally an English teacher. She had been trained to teach math, but because of a shortage of English teachers, she was put in charge of teaching us. I remember vividly when she said to me, "Jack, your pronunciation is better than mine." At that moment, something awakened in me. That little bit of encouragement, coming from someone who was also learning, gave me a confidence I didn't know. It showed me how a word of support can ignite someone's spirit. In contrast, there was the chemistry teacher. He didn't like me, and believe me, the feeling was mutual. I simply couldn't connect with the subject, and this disconnection was fueled by the teacher's coldness. He never believed in my potential, and that affected me deeply. This experience made me realize something crucial. The relationship between teacher and student is fundamental to academic performance. When a teacher invests emotionally in their students, showing trust and support, the impact goes beyond grades. Success comes from the belief you inspire in others. If we reflect on the role of the teacher, we realize that they are not only a source of technical knowledge, but also an emotional mentor. Those who encourage their students to overcome challenges are the ones who really shape futures. Good teachers don't just teach subjects. They teach persistence, emotional resilience, and self-belief. This also applies to the business world. Success rarely comes from knowing everything technically, but from believing that you can learn, adapt, and grow. It's interesting to note that it's often the most unlikely teachers who make a profound impression on us. My English teacher, who was learning the basics of the language as she taught us, turned out to be one of the biggest influences in my life. She didn't have the best education, but she had passion and dedication. This made me understand that, in many cases, while the content a teacher teaches is important, their ability to connect, motivate, and inspire is what really defines the impact they will have. This understanding of the importance of teachers has shaped my view of leadership. Just as a good teacher believes in their students, a leader must trust their team. The true role of a leader, just like that of a teacher, is to inspire others to be better, to overcome their own limitations, and to believe in their own potential. After all, if you want to catch the rabbit, don't change the rabbit, change yourself. From standardization to differentiation in the industrial period, everything aimed for standardization. But in the AI period, we want differentiation. We want to make everybody different in a good way. Data technology DT is about enabling others. The real fairness of education is to differentiate, to make sure every child gets the right education they need so they can be the best version of themselves. I always think a school should be like a zoo with all kinds of animals. This is what I aimed for in my company. I would hate to turn my company into a farm group of chickens or ducks. I want all kinds of animals. They're versatile. Embrace failure. Your greatest teacher failure is an inevitable part of life. For many, failure is seen as an insurmountable obstacle, but I believe it is only the beginning of something greater. When I think about my own journey, I remember the 30 times I was rejected by companies. Yes, 30 times. In fact, one of the most notable rejections was from KFC out of 24 applicants. 23 were accepted, and I was the only one to be turned down. For many, this would be devastating, but I took it differently. Every no I received prepared me for the next challenge. In fact, failure has always been my greatest teacher. This mentality of seeing failure as an opportunity is something I believe all young people should learn. The world is changing rapidly, and the challenges are constant. Teaching new generations to develop resilience and adaptability is more important than ever. Failure is not an end, but a chance to reassess, learn, and grow. When we fail, we discover our weaknesses and are forced to find ways to overcome them. This ability to get up after a fall is what sets true innovators and leaders apart. One of the phrases I always carry with me is, "If you have a dream, you will never feel poor." I believe this with all my heart. No matter how difficult the situation, if you have a clear dream and are willing to work towards it, failure becomes just a step along the way. Many young people today are obsessed with avoiding failure, but true growth comes when they accept and embrace it. Failure is an instructor, not an enemy. It's a door that, when opened, reveals new opportunities. I always say that every rejection I faced was like a push in the right direction. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. When I look back, I see that each failure led me to something greater, something I wouldn't have achieved if I hadn't gone through those difficulties. And that's why today, when I talk to young entrepreneurs, I insist on the importance of learning to deal with failure in a productive way. Failure doesn't define who you are, but how you respond to it does. Teaching new generations not to fear failure is actually preparing them for success. When we stop seeing failure as something negative and start treating it as a valuable lesson, we open the door to true innovation. Every obstacle can be a stepping stone to something even greater, but only if we have the courage to keep trying. Preparing for a future of change the world we live in is changing at an unprecedented pace. Technologies are advancing rapidly, and with that, so are the demands of the job market. When I look at the next generations, especially the children, I see in schools, I ask myself, what kind of future are we preparing for them? It is estimated that in the next 20 years, 50% of the jobs we have today will no longer exist. This is a frightening reality, but at the same time, it's an opportunity. We need to teach children to be creative, adaptable, and above all, to think independently. The current education system, unfortunately, still works like a production line. We are creating standardized students as if they were all destined to play the same role in the future. I, however, have always believed that education should be more like a zoo, where each animal is different and has its own abilities. We should encourage diversity of thought and ideas. Creativity will be one of the most valued skills in the future, and we need to start cultivating this from an early age. Today's children will face a completely different world from ours, and the greatest gift we can give them is the ability to reinvent themselves. Of course, the future will bring many challenges, especially with the emergence of new technologies. But that shouldn't scare us. If we teach children to cope with change, if we prepare them for a world where adaptation will be a vital skill, they will succeed. The future of education is not about transmitting information. It's about teaching students to think for themselves and question the world around them. We need a new educational model, one that values innovation, critical thinking, and emotional intelligence. When I think about the future of work, I see that technical skills alone will not be enough. Machines and artificial intelligence will do much of the technical work, but what machines can't do is empathize, create, or dream. That's why we need to invest in emotional education. Teaching children to deal with their emotions and to work well with other people will be essential. The future belongs to those who know how to collaborate, innovate, and create solutions that machines could never conceive. What worries me is not the technology itself, but how we are preparing children for this future. Are we giving them the right tools? Are we teaching them the importance of adaptability, creativity, and collaboration? The future depends on our ability to adjust the way we educate the new generations. The challenge is before us, and the question we must ask ourselves is, are we ready to face it? Alibaba Intelligence, where humans and AI meet when we started developing technology at Alibaba, we didn't call it artificial intelligence. In fact, we called it Alibaba Intelligence. What we knew from the start was that if something could be done by logic, machines would do it better than us. But at the same time, I always knew that machines could never replace certain aspects of humanity, such as creativity, love, or emotions. They may be great at spotting patterns and solving logical problems. But when it comes to genuine innovation, this is an area where humans will always be ahead. Machines are great at following rules, but human beings are unpredictable, and that's where our real strength lies. An example of this is love. We can never really explain why we love someone because it doesn't follow a clear logic. Similarly, creativity is an area where logic often fails. When I think of innovation, I know it's something that comes from the human heart and mind, not from an algorithm. At Alibaba, we use machines to accurately monitor transactions and identify fraud. But when it comes to creating something new, it always comes from people. One of the biggest challenges we face in the future will be balancing the use of technology and the preservation of our humanity. Technology is advancing at an incredible pace, but we have to remember that it is only a tool, not the end in itself. We must use artificial intelligence to improve our lives, but without neglecting what makes us human. Ultimately, machines can help us solve many problems, but the most profound solutions will come from our ability to innovate and create. I often say that if you want to catch the rabbit, don't change the rabbit. Change yourself. This metaphor applies to the way we should approach technology. We can't completely control technological advances, but we can adapt to them and use them intelligently. Innovation, after all, is a question of adaptation. Companies and individuals who fail to adapt to new technologies are doomed to be left behind. The future of artificial intelligence is promising, but it also brings many challenges. We need to ensure that technology is used for good, ethically, and responsibly. And above all, we need to remember that no matter how advanced technology becomes, it will never replace our creativity, empathy, and humanity. Those are the real keys to the future. Leadership as teaching, inspiring growth during my journey as a leader at Alibaba. I always saw myself as a chief education officer more than a CEO. For me, leadership is very similar to the role of a teacher. A good teacher wants their students to be better than them. In the same way, a good leader must inspire their team to achieve more than they ever could. It's not about controlling everything or knowing all the answers, but about trusting people and empowering them to be the best they can be. I remember when my venture capitalist said to me, "Jack, you should hand over the CEO job to someone else because you don't know how to be a CEO." I smiled and didn't listen. After a while, I realized that he was partly right. I didn't truly know how to be a CEO in the traditional way. But then I realized something. I was a good CEO because I was, above all, a teacher. And as a teacher, my main function was to trust and teach my team, not just to command them. This philosophy has shaped the way I've always dealt with leadership. The role of a leader is not to be the smartest person in the room, but to make other people feel empowered and capable of achieving great things. At Alibaba, I never wanted to be the boss who made all the decisions. I've always believed that when you trust people, they become more committed and creative, and that trust leads to innovation. When I lead my team, I like to think that I'm planting seeds of trust, innovation, and boldness. Just as a teacher wants to see their students reach new heights, I want to see my team creating things we would never have imagined. Leadership for me is about inspiring people to be better than they thought they could be. If there's one lesson I've learned over the years, it's that trust in people is the foundation of any strong leadership. You can't do everything yourself, and you shouldn't try. The success of a company or any enterprise lies in how you inspire and empower those around you. After all, leadership is not about being the best, but about making others better. Teamwork, the Chinese football example. It has always intrigued me how education can shape not only minds but entire societies. One example of this is sport. In China, we have more than 1 billion people, but we still can't field a soccer team that can beat the Maldives, a country of about 400,000 people. This makes me wonder, where are we going wrong? One clear answer is that our education is still not sufficiently focused on teamwork and collaboration. In China, we excel at individual sports like ping pong, but when it comes to team sports, we struggle. This reveals a bigger problem. Our education is focused on individual performance, on grades, on being the best. But in the real world, especially in the future of business and work, Collaboration will be an essential skill. We need to teach our children to work as a team, to trust each other, and to face challenges together. Physical education and sport play a crucial role in developing these skills. Sport teaches the importance of teamwork, resilience, and overcoming obstacles. These are lessons that go far beyond the field or court and apply directly to the world of business and personal development. If we want to prepare our young people for the future, we must value emotional education as much as physical education. Looking to the future, I realize that true success will not only lie in technical skills or academic knowledge, but in the ability to collaborate, to face challenges with others, and this can only be learned through practice, through experience in real situations. We need to transform our schools into places where children not only learn math and science, but also the art of working together. I believe that if we manage to incorporate the spirit of collaboration into education from an early age, we will be creating a generation of innovators and leaders. They will not only know how to solve problems, but how to do it as a team, in a collaborative and creative way, and that will be the real differentiator. The future of work, empathy, creativity, and connection as the world advances with automation and artificial intelligence. One thing becomes clear: machines can do many things better than we can. They can calculate fast, process more data, and identify patterns with incredible precision. But there is one thing that machines will never be able to do: feel empathy, compassion, creativity. These are the qualities that define us as human. And in the future, it will be these skills that will set us apart in the job market. That's why I believe that emotional education is just as important as technical education. We need to teach our young people to understand and deal with their emotions, to work well with other people, and to develop empathy. These are the skills that will make them successful in a world where technology will dominate many areas. Machines can take care of the repetitive tasks. Human beings will need to focus on the areas that require creativity and emotions. I remember a story from when I was a teacher. One of my students was brilliant at math, but he had trouble relating to others. He always wanted to do everything himself and couldn't collaborate on group projects. After a long time working with him, I realized that the key was not to teach him more math, but to help him develop his emotional intelligence. When he began to understand the importance of working in a team and valuing the opinions of others, he flourished. Emotional intelligence will be the currency of the future. As technical and mechanical tasks become increasingly automated, it will be human beings with their ability to innovate, create, and connect with others who will be more valuable. We need to prepare the next generations for this. We need an education system that not only teaches science and math, but also helps children understand the value of empathy and collaboration. If we want our children to thrive in the future, we need to give them the right tools, and those tools aren't just laptops and calculators. They're the emotional skills that will help them navigate an increasingly interconnected and complex world. The future belongs to those who know how to create, collaborate, and feel. Adaptability, the constant in a changing world, in the business world. One of the most valuable lessons I've learned is the importance of being adaptable. Things change quickly: trends, technologies, and even consumer expectations. And those who manage to adapt to these changes are the ones who thrive. Entrepreneurship, after all, is a constant process of adjustment and reinvention. If you're not willing to change, you'll be left behind. When we started Alibaba, we had no idea how the e-commerce market would change over the next few years. All we knew was that we needed to be ready to adapt to any circumstance. During our journey, we had to change our plans several times, adjust our strategies, and sometimes rethink our entire approach. But it was this flexibility that allowed us to grow and thrive in such a competitive environment. Adaptability is not only a skill that benefits companies, but also individuals. Those who are willing to continually learn, rethink their goals, and adjust their plans are the ones who will be most successful in the future. The world is changing rapidly, and opportunities arise for those who know how to adjust. If you want to stand out, you need to be willing to change not just your strategies, but your mindset. When I look back, I realized that the greatest opportunities I took advantage of arose precisely when I had to adapt to a new reality. It wasn't easy. We often resist change because it is uncomfortable, but it is precisely this discomfort that pushes us to the next level. I've learned that adaptability is actually a skill that we can develop over time. It's a question of opening your mind to new possibilities and being willing to learn from each challenge. If you want to be successful in the future, you need to prepare for change. Those who can adapt quickly will have the best opportunities. The world will never stop changing, and it's up to us to decide how we respond to these changes. Success in the end belongs to those who can reinvent themselves. Collaboration. The engine of achievement, one of the most important lessons I've learned over the years is that no great achievement is the result of a solitary effort. When we started Alibaba, I knew that in order for the company to thrive, we would need to work as a united team. I've seen many companies fail because their leaders didn't encourage collaboration. A leader can have great ideas, but without a team that executes them with passion and commitment, those ideas will go nowhere. At Alibaba, I have always encouraged my team to share their ideas and work together to overcome challenges. Working as a team isn't just about sharing tasks, it's about sharing a common vision. When everyone is aligned around a greater goal, work flows more efficiently, and the results are much greater. At the end of the day, a company's success is a reflection of the strength of its team. I remember saying to my employees, "If not now, when? If not us, who?" This simple phrase has always kept us focused on teamwork and the importance of acting together. In the business world, collaboration is essential because the challenges we face are too complex to be solved by a single person. Teamwork allows us to harness different perspectives, talents, and skills to create innovative solutions. The true value of a strong team lies in trust. When you trust others and know you can count on them, barriers fall and possibilities expand. It is this mutual trust that builds a culture of collaboration and success. Over the years, I've seen that companies that genuinely promote teamwork are the ones that achieve the most sustainable and long-lasting results. In the end, what I've learned is that success is always a collective effort. When we work together, we are able to overcome any obstacle and achieve our greatest goals. Collaboration, mutual respect, and the desire to achieve something greater than ourselves are the real ingredients for success. Education for all. A foundation for the future education has the power to transform lives. And I strongly believe that it should be accessible to everyone, regardless of where they come from. That's why, through the Jack Ma Foundation, we are dedicated to improving education in rural areas of China and other parts of the world. I believe that education is not just a right, but an essential tool for human development and overcoming inequalities. When I visit China's rural areas and see children who don't have access to a quality education, I feel an enormous responsibility. These children have as much potential as any other, but are often not given the opportunities they need to flourish. Education is the way for these children to have a better future, and it is our duty to ensure that everyone has access to it. What many people don't realize is that by investing in education, we are investing in the future of our societies. Every educated child is one more person capable of contributing to economic growth, innovation, and solving the great problems we face as humanity. We cannot let geographical location or social status be obstacles to personal and professional development. I remember when I started Alibaba, many people said that it would be impossible for an e-commerce company to thrive in China, especially in more remote areas. But I've always believed that if you give people the right tools and knowledge, they can do anything. The same goes for education. If we give children the right tools and support, they will have the power to change their own lives and the lives of their communities. Education should be a priority for all of us. It's not just about teaching school subjects, but about opening doors to the future. By ensuring that education is accessible to all, we are building a world where every person has the chance to reach their full potential. AI as a tool, protecting humanity's core at Alibaba. The use of technology and artificial intelligence has been key to our success. We developed Alibaba Intelligence to manage our operations, especially in the fight against fraud. Machines are incredibly efficient when it comes to identifying patterns and performing logical tasks. They can do jobs that require far greater precision than humans could ever achieve. However, I have always believed that AI is a tool, not a substitute for human beings. Machines can do many things better than us, but there are some things they will never be able to replace. Creativity, empathy, and innovation are intrinsically human qualities. And it is these qualities that will set us apart in the future, as artificial intelligence becomes more common in various industries. It will be essential to use it to increase our efficiency, but without losing our humanity. One of the areas where AI shines is in fraud detection. At Alibaba, we use AI to monitor millions of transactions in real time and identify suspicious patterns. This has allowed us to protect our customers and ensure that transactions are secure. However, the real innovation within Alibaba has always come from the people. From their ability to think outside the box and find creative solutions to complex problems. In the future, artificial intelligence will continue to transform many industries. But we need to ensure that it is used responsibly and ethically. AI's role is to help humans, not replace them. And at the same time, we need to ensure that the next generations are prepared to work alongside machines, developing skills that machines cannot replicate. If we can find the right balance between using technology and preserving human skills, the future will be bright. But it's up to us to ensure that artificial intelligence is used in a way that benefits everyone. Every child a startup. The entrepreneurial spirit, every child, when they come into the world, is building their own business like an entrepreneur. It's a startup. A startup where you learn to work with others. You learn to solve problems. You learn to get support and get help. I think in the future, what kind of people we want to be, how we want to be, what kind of life we need, that is designed by education. What education we're doing today is designing the future of human beings, and what people today design the education of tomorrow. So, my first job was a teacher, and I hope my last job is working together with you. I'm doing something on education. I'm an amateur, but I want to learn. I want to learn from you. I want to debate with you and working with you. Let's find a solution for the future. Thank you so much. Jack Ma's enduring legacy. Jack Ma's educational journey is a true lesson in resilience and persistence. Failing. The university entrance exams 3 times would have discouraged many, but for Jack, each failure was a step toward success. Acceptance into Hangzhou Teachers College, a university seen as low class, was a turning point. In that environment, he not only learned about academic knowledge, but also discovered the importance of never giving up. He saw education not as a finish line, but as a continuous learning process. His ability to turn failures into valuable lessons shaped him into the leader he would become. Jack Ma always repeated the phrase, "If not now, when? If not me, who?" This constant question motivated him to keep going, even when doors closed repeatedly. Failure for him was never the end of the line, but the beginning of something greater. Each obstacle he faced prepared him for the next challenge. And this unwavering determination became a crucial feature of his success. For Jack, failure was his greatest teacher, teaching him the importance of persistence and continuous learning. Reflecting on his time at Hangzhou Teachers College, Jack began to question the Chinese education system. At that time, teachers were often chosen from among the least talented students. To him, this seemed nonsensical. How could we expect an educational revolution when those who taught were not among the best? However, it was in this reflection that Jack discovered a profound truth. Being a good teacher was not just about grades or academic knowledge, but about the ability to inspire and motivate students to believe in themselves. This epiphany shaped his worldview and his leadership style. He understood that the true role of a teacher and a leader was not only to impart knowledge, but also to help others unlock their potential. Each individual is unique, and the role of a good educator is to guide them in discovering their own abilities and talents. Jack began to realize that success, both in education and in business, did not come from standardization, but from diversity of thought and the ability to think creatively. At the time, Jack already envisioned a future where education would play a key role in shaping innovative minds. He saw education as a tool to empower people, not to mold them into a production line. This mindset shaped not only his vision of the future of education, but also the future of business and leadership. For Jack, education should be more than just textbooks. It should be a place where individuals are encouraged to thrive,